I would
Can you
have to
go
like,
go live on your phone and turn? Do you have like a little tripod or something?
yeah, I have a holder somewhere. I don't know. Hold on 1 second.
For everybody listening out there, and
I would
can you
have to
go
like,
go live on your phone and turn? Do you have like a little tripod or something?
yeah, I have a holder somewhere. I don't know. Hold on 1 second.
For everybody listening out there, and can you
I'm getting a
go live
delay.
on your phone?
Are you hearing that?
All right, I can hear you now. I think I have to keep the live
You just
pause
had, I just heard me talking to you like from like 10 seconds ago.
because I have the live stream going on my other monitor,
Yeah.
and it was playing through the same speaker. So I have the volume turned down on the live stream. It says there's two people watching already.
Word. What's
So
up,
I
everybody?
know that it's a little delayed over there. So yeah, we'll get started. What is up, fam? I know we are live streaming on YouTube right now, and this is the second
What's up, peeps?
episode of the Spoken Truth podcast. And I got my homie on here, Batman Rob. You
How
all
we
know
doing?
him. Um, Batman and I have we've had some adventures together, and he has some awesome intelligence and knowledge when it comes to all this stuff. So
Appreciate you.
yeah, as we get started here, Batman, tell us who you are, bro. Tell us where everybody can find you on social media, and tell us who you are, brother.
Well, the first question, telling them where they can find me on social media is definitely an easier answer than the second one. As far as who I am, still figuring that part out. But you can find me on TikTok as Batman Rob 25. Facebook, I think I'm Batman 25 on there still with four N's, I believe. I haven't been doing the Facebook thing. I haven't really been doing much TikToking either lately. Life's been busy. But YouTube, I did for a cup of coffee. I'm still on there, I think. I gotta start doing a little bit more on that too. But I believe I'm Batman with four N's 25 on YouTube as well. That was what I started out as on TikTok when I first, started doing all my videos because I wasn't planning on being a creator, you know what I mean, by any means, when I first started the account. So I wasn't, thinking something that wasn't confusing to people that you had to say four ends, with 25. But
I know I
yeah,
messed that up on all the tags. I kept messing it up when we were in Boston and I was doing all the clips and I kept doing it. I'm like, dang, man, I keep doing it wrong.
not just you, dog. Everybody does it, and a lot of people still tag me on my old name, but I still have that account too as like, well, not really. It's three ends on the backup account, but when I changed it to Batman Rob.
Right on. So monitor in the YouTube chat right here on the other side, bro. So if you see me turn this way, we've got
Yeah.
a few people watching, a few people commenting. We got Amy Sue in
Oh, what's
the
up, Amy Sue?
Amy Sue, Jen, Sarah,
Oh, what's up? All the
my homie
regulars.
Dino. Yeah, we got a bunch of people in here. So
Yeah.
I just want to know, want everybody to know that we're listening in here. And while I'm replying to a couple of these real quick, Rob,
Mm-hmm.
let's go in on your background. We know that, that's one of your catchphrases, the guy with a funny accent. So whereabouts
Mm-hmm.
are you from with that funny accent?
Yeah, I'm from South Shore, Massachusetts, like about half hour south of Boston, like basically the almost the halfway point between the Cape and Boston, like by Plymouth, where the Pilgrims landed.
Where the pilgrims land.
Yeah, birthplace of our nation, birthplace of our nation. But yeah, so I don't even know. I mean, as far as like where I'm from and what my background, I mean, I grew up in a my mother and my father were divorced by the time I was two. So my mom and I live with my grandparents, and I was basically raised by them, the uh the O'Toole clan, um, Marty and Rita, just the greatest generation type, and my mother and I lived with them for first 12 years of my life on I mean, sports were always a big part of my life growing up. Like I was always very good at sports. Sorry, the dog won't leave me alone with the ball now. She hates when I'm. Come on, go away, go away, come on, go away. Come on.
Not everybody knows your dog.
I know. Hold on, oh, now she goes away. She's camera shy. I was gonna show everybody. But yeah, no. So I mean, football was a big part of my life growing up. Like that was like literally, for a long time that was my identity, dog. Like I when I used to share at AA groups and run groups and stuff like that, like I would always talk about how my first addiction was other people's approval and seeking that, the attaboy from people, right? And I got that pretty easily on the football field and in the classroom as well. That's why I mean it pushed me in many ways, like to some good places. I got a full scholarship to college and played up there for 4 years and didn't learn a damn thing. But yeah, it was an awesome experience. I learned a lot about myself, about other people more so. Um, but it wasn't. I didn't wake up. I mean, I wrote a paper on the. I talk about this regularly, but I wrote a paper about how the Patriot Act was a good thing in my freshman year because 9/11 happened my freshman year, so that was fresh. You know what I mean? So I was all about it. Like, yep, pick them out, get the terrorists out of there, that kind of shit. And looking back now, how much oh, sorry about the language, dude. I'm trying. But looking back now, it's pretty eye-opening as to how, blinded I was by a lot of stuff, by everything, really. And fast forward after college, uh, we'll make this a quick story. I became a junkie for about 10 years. Um, I started with pills, you know, progressed to heroin and ended up having to go to treatment several times, many sober houses. And I finally got clean and sober after, I don't know, 40, 50, trips to detoxes and who knows what else. In 2019, 2019. So I basically got sober during COVID. Like COVID happened right immediately right after. And that was when, no, not a coincidence. I started to see things differently, like COVID and the combination of COVID and obviously having a clear mind for once and not being distracted by drugs and alcohol and all the negative things that go along with them. Um, I was able to kind of see through the veil, if you will, and I could just see everybody around me was lying. That was like literally my conclusion. I was like, there isn't a single person like I can talk to about this topic that I can trust. Like I have to do my own research. I got to look it up. I got to do some digging, right? And that's what I did. And ever since then, I haven't stopped, man. That's how I got. That's kind of how I got into doing what we do. You know.
Well, I mean, first of all, Rob, I commend you, bro, for your sobriety and everything.
Well,
And
yeah, I mean, I'm not fully sober. You know that. I'm like California sober now, but I mean, I haven't touched hard drugs in, like I said, 2019. So
yeah, so it's awesome, Rob, and I'm proud of you, bro. And
thank you, sir.
had conversations about this, man, and in a lot of ways, Rob and I think very, very similar to so many things, and that's how him and I have been able to jive and communicate so well. And that's
Mhm.
kind of, you talking about COVID and everything. That was going to be my next question for you: is what kind of opened your eyes to the fact that we've been lied to about dang near everything, bro?
Dude, well, first off, it was just the whole way the vaccine was treated, like by all parties involved. Like I had never seen anything like that in my life. Like, and it was clear that they didn't have, or at least like they weren't making available like the tests, the proper testing or research done on some of these. And like I still didn't buy why, how everything got released in the first place. Like they were still probably telling me about us somebody ate a bat at a market or something, right? Like that was like how it started off. It was like people are really buying this, like that's I talk to people now that got vaccinated and no, I'm not judging at all, because like it was hard to not get vaccinated, like they made it that way on purpose, right? Like they called people murderers and stuff on the news.
That
But
division,
yeah,
keeping everybody divided. They want you to pick a side, like
yeah.
vaccinated versus unvaxxed, and want you to fight for it.
But I haven't met a single person that did get vaccinated that doesn't regret it now. You know what I mean? Now that like a lot of stuff has come to light, I feel like a lot of people, they may not admit it, but they're not stoked about what happened. I guarantee you that.
Absolutely. And I mean, it goes for everybody that's out there listening. We've got almost 10 people, 9 people watching us live right now
What's up,
on
everybody?
YouTube. So they're all saying howdy. But I know I can speak for Rob when I say this, is that when we're having these conversations, we're not here to offend anybody. We're not here
Mm,
to disrespect anybody. We just need to have real conversations between real people when
mm,
show different perspectives. And the vaccination thing, that was a huge divide, and that's really what this is all about, is they divide people, vaccinated versus unvaxxed, left versus right, black versus white. Then they make you pick a side and fight for it, and that attaches to the ego, and that's how they keep us distracted from everything that's going on right now. And
exactly.
so we all got to get past that, and we're never here to judge anybody, nothing like that. We're just giving perspectives on everything. But bro, absolutely, there's a lot of people that feel that same exact way.
Yeah, I kind of feel bad for him now, like talking to some of them. Like I know some of them, like my friends' parents who are a little bit elderly that, have been running into health issues and they think that might be the cause,
Mhm.
and I wouldn't be surprised based off some of the stuff that's come out, kind of sucks,
Yeah, and we know what they do with pharmakia and all
dude.
the stuff that they create. They create the problem and the solution, then they sell you both,
Oh
and
yeah, exactly, exactly. Hold on one second. My dog will not stop growling. Give me 1 second.
no worries. So listen, y'all. I appreciate everybody that's watching live right now on YouTube. Amy Susan here, Katie123,
Sorry about that.
Genevieve equals. Be curious with Sarah, Jen, B6Y8B. Much love, fam. Thank you all for the support. I got Batman Rob on here. Y'all seen Rob.
What's up, guys?
But dude, you make some awesome content, and
Thanks, brother.
you have a lot of knowledge. And something that's always impressed me, especially when you and I are adventuring, is your knowledge in Latin.
Mm,
And that's made things a lot easier, especially for me, who I don't speak Latin, but seeing how everything is written in Latin.
hmm
Now, dude, with everything being so Greek and Roman and Egyptian inspired, so what do you think it is? What do you think we're looking at? So, Rob, if you're not
Yeah,
following him, please go follow him on TikTok. Follow him on Facebook. You got a Facebook set up. I know we got to get that boosted out a little bit,
yeah,
but
yeah,
go
definitely.
listen to Rob because Rob has some substantial knowledge, especially covering everything with the King Philip's War and all the stuff in the Northeast and talking about the tribes and everything.
Mm,
So it's real cool, and we can get into some of that. But I
yeah.
mean, what do you think it all is, Batman?
Dude, that's hard. I mean, I think as far as the Latin is concerned, man, I mean, it's hard to separate that from religion, right? They kind of go hand in hand, like Christianity and Latin, right? Ever
Mhm.
since it got, I think they what transcribed it from what was the first Bible written in Aramaic?
Aramaic, yeah, which
I,
is very similar to Hebrew
yeah, yep. Which we've talked about too, and how like the closest parallels to Hebrew are Gaelic and Cherokee,
and
you
Cherokee.
know. Which is very strange, right? Like that leads one to wonder.
You
Uh,
wonder where did those tribes really come from?
yeah, yeah, exactly. I was actually just talking about this yesterday. I made a spontaneous visit to the Hanover Historical Society because it was like the only one around that was open. And I think I showed you, I found this like piece of quartz in my yard that I'm pretty confident was like a Neolithic tool of some sort. Like it's because it's too perfect, like it's too perfectly shaped. And you can kind of tell like it was like used to either skin something or like grind something because like there's a corner that's completely rounded over while it's a perfect wedge. It's a perfect triangle. But I brought it in there to get examined, and he ended up referring me to a different place. But why? I don't even know why I was talking about that just now. Why the hell were we just talking? Why did I get into that? I don't remember. Why did I start talking about that story?
But megalithic,
Yeah, the tool in my yard. I don't know.
we
Oh,
were
we
talking
talk.
about Aramaic and Hebrew,
Mhm.
the tribes that were here.
Yes, that's what I was getting into. Is that I learned from the guy there that like I didn't know this, but Josiah Wampatuck, who was um he was Massasoit's son, King Massasoit. Massasoit was the king of the Wampanoag Confederation, which meant he was like an elected official. Like he wasn't just a king; he was actually elected by multiple tribes. Like that's why it was a confederation. But his son, Josiah Wampatuck, literally lived not even a mile from me, right
Hmm.
down the street, like right on one of the ponds over here. I mean, right off Wampatuck Street. I mean, I realized that I always knew that was an Indian or a native, term, but I didn't know what it was in relation to. And I found out that he actually lived right down the street, like right down the street from me. We would have been neighbors, me and Josiah Wampatuck. But yeah, that stuff and getting into like the Algonquin language and stuff like that, like that's been something that stemmed from my interest in Latin. I got when I got into Latin, I was in seventh grade. So how old are you in seventh grade? I was 11,
13,
11, I
maybe
think, or 12. Yeah, something like
12,
that.
somewhere in there, 12. Yeah.
Yeah. But then I ended up minoring in it in college. Like I took it all the way through high school and all the way through college. And mainly because I liked the stories. Like it was like there was some crazy, crazy ass stories, as you know, dealing with
Mhm.
some of the Greek myths and the Roman myths and the gods and goddesses and all the origin stories and stuff. But yeah, getting that's really what piqued my interest in like etymology and stuff like that, and that's why I started digging into the Algonquin language. And I found a few parallels between that and ancient Egyptian that I'm still kind of exploring right now. But it's some interesting stuff. I love that shit.
Yeah, absolutely. And etymology is incredibly important when it comes to all this because,
Hmm.
and they used to teach etymology, they don't teach it anymore. But like the words that we speak in English, you could have multiple meanings within a word,
Yeah,
and we don't really know what we're speaking, and we're all kind of spell casting as we're talking,
yeah.
but there are a lot of parallels between the quote unquote Native American language and like these ancient languages that have different roots. And I mean, it leads you to believe that there's been some stuff, obviously, that's much older that's happened here
Hmm.
than what they're saying. That to me makes complete sense. I know that you and I have talked extensively about the multiple advanced civilizations that were here and existed. And
Hmm.
I don't know, it seems like there's a big cover up being orchestrated, that's for sure.
Yeah, man. Like and it started in the beginning. Like I just started doing some research on the first banned book in the United States. I actually came across it by accident, like through research on, I forget even what I was researching at the time, but this guy, Thomas Morton, I think I've talked about it in videos. He wrote a book called New English Canaan, which is what they used to call New England back in the day.
I think is not to interrupt you, Rob.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
it's crazy because they have the Canyon fuels, and it's
Yeah.
just like Canaanite, like
Oh,
that's
yeah.
how it's spelled. And I thought that's wild that they used to call that area Canaan, because
Oh,
going back biblically, the
mm-hmm.
Canaanites and Canaan, it's the same. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. No, they in some cases they called it New Israel. Like that's what New England was supposed to be. Like that's why a lot of like, I've done videos from Cohasset Cemetery. That's right off Jerusalem Road, right? And like the oldest gravestone in that graveyard is Israel Nichols off of Jerusalem Road. And then I did one at Burial Hill in Plymouth, the first governor of the Mass Bay Colony there, like of the Pilgrims, right? Oh shit. I want to say it was Bradford. Yeah, Governor Bradford, William Bradford, I think his name is. But his obelisk tomb had Hebrew all over it. Like it was covered in Hebrew. And then I started learning a little bit more about how the Puritans actually based like their entire civilization off the commandments of Moses. And like the Old Testament, like there's like I guess like Moses came down from the mount with more than just the commandments. I guess he came down with like directions on how to set up like a successful civilization, I believe, or something along those lines. And that's how they designed the first civilization here in the United States based off all that. And I think they were really into that stuff.
well, that's quite interesting.
I thought so. Yeah.
Signed it in the United States.
hmm
That's the whole thing. Like they say, it's the new world. Like we're in the old world, bro.
Mm.
There's nothing that's gonna convince me otherwise.
Agreed. It's like the more we dig, dude, the more it seems that way, right? Like, or there were at least maybe like sometimes the thought crosses my mind, like, what if like civilizations actually existed during Pangea? Like, we used to see that map when all the continents were one conglomerate, like what if that was when everything was at its peak before everything went to shit?
Yeah.
But who
Or
and
these
that,
resets that we see, you know
yeah.
what I mean? Because obviously the continents were all connected at one point.
Hmm.
And but I'm right there with you, bro, that there's just been so many different civilizations. And that's not even like counting the inner earth stuff that they talk about,
Hmm.
but there's been a lot of different civilizations and they could have definitely been here before the continents rearranged or whatever you want to call it.
Absolutely, man. I mean, we see evidence of multiple resets just in the stuff that's still in existence today. Like think about all the stuff that's not here anymore, you know?
Or all the stuff that they destroyed and covered up.
Mm,
All these structures that we go to, there was always one that was there, one or two that were there beforehand.
mm-hmm.
But they somehow all these stone structures mysteriously burn up in flames. But then there's
Yep.
another one constructed in a year in the same exact spot with wonky construction photos. Logistics don't make any sense whatsoever.
Yep.
Who is to say that that's actually not the one that was there and they just came up with the fire story?
Hmm.
You
Or
know?
half the time too, like those buildings, you do a little bit more digging. Like they weren't even the first on the spot either. Like
Oh.
there was a school there before, or there was a a church or a meeting house, or this was the old theater or something like that was built in like 1689 that was torn down, and that's where the post office is now. Like that's usually what a lot of those stories go back to. Like it never stops. It keeps going and going until you're like, who are building all these structures? It's like, what the hell? What is this?
The one, I think it was Eddie O had the video like breaking it down with Chad GPT talking about the original Yankee Stadium.
Mm,
And like how long, because they only built it in like a year or something, if
of
that. And I
course,
think it
of
was like
course.
less than a year. But if you did it today with no amount of money or no limit on the amount of money or equipment, everything, every modern convenience and tool. If you tried doing it today, it would take like 10 years. But they were somehow able to logistically do it in less than a year back then, moving all the stone by hand and all the
Oh,
brick. Like it's
dude,
absolutely ridiculous, bro.
it's mind blowing.
Yeah.
I just put out a video yesterday about like I was dating it based off Jesse James because I think that gives people the most like just a clear frame of reference. It's like this dude wasn't born yet, and we built the Canton Viaduct in 15 months in Canton, Mass. It was like the biggest train bridge in the world at the time, made of nothing but huge multi-ton stones, 70 feet tall, like 700 feet long or something. It's insane. The arches are 30 feet tall in 15 months. 1830,
15 months.
1834. Yep.
Nobody there, logistically speaking, like
Right?
what are you making that for?
It was for the one of the railroads. It wasn't the Transcontinental. It was like the Providence Boston Railroad, maybe, I think, is what it was at the time. But it was like it was a railroad track that they built, like over, and it's also an aqueduct or like it's called a viaduct. But you still like to this day, the stones that they used in 1834 can withstand modern day like bullet trains, like going over that on a daily basis without being touched. Like that thing hasn't moved. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when you talk about aqueducts, I initially think right off the rip is the Romans.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because the Romans had the aqueducts, and the Romans supposedly invented the straight road.
I never knew that. I never heard that.
Yeah, yeah, supposedly.
That's
But I guess
bullshit. I'm calling bullshit on that one right now. Like that, it's just another like white man's fucking lie right there. Is what that is, dude. Like, oh yeah, the natives didn't know how to make a straight road. Yeah,
Right?
The Romans had to do it. Give me a break. No, I don't like that
No,
one.
I read that somewhere.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
but
yes.
then it made me think though, I was like, well, is it that hard to make a straight road if they have a canal and it was like filled with dirt, you know?
That's yeah, it's such a ridiculous thing. We're the first ones to make a straight road. Like, come on, we're really reaching on that one. I think.
So we got a couple people in the comments here
Yeah.
talking about Pangea
Mm.
and then
How
also
about that how that's named after the god Pan? How about that? And Gaia. Like, what is that about?
oh
Right?
yeah, so the etymology of that, so Pan and
Mm-hmm.
then yeah,
And
Gia,
Gaia.
Gaia,
Yep.
like the etymology breaking down. And something
Mm-hmm.
I learned from Batman, a little Batman factoroo, is talking about Pan and how when Pan played his flute,
Mm-hmm.
that's where they get the word panic, right? Like
Yeah.
because people started acting wild once Pan was playing his little flute.
Yeah, his magical mouth harp or flute or whatever. Yeah, they would lose all logic and reason, and that's where we got the term panic from. Yeah, interesting, right? And then you got
Very
pandemonium, same thing. Like that's like that's a bunch of people going crazy, right? It's that's where we get that. but then it's what's strange to me, and I've actually had long conversations with my chat GPT about this, getting nowhere, but um, is that Pan at some point changed over from meaning the god in Greek mythology, Pan, to meaning everything and all, because that's what it actually means in like pandemic, or pansexual, or like Pangea even. That's like what they're referring to when they use that. It means everything and all, which I found very interesting, because like the god himself was like still being worshipped at the same time that the word meant everything and all, like for all, like both Roman and Greek societies,
Hmm.
which I found very interesting, because they don't pantheon, for instance, like the pantheon of gods, right?
Pantheon, pantheon. Then going back and saying the Egyptian or Roman or Greek pantheon, showing like the
Hmm.
group of gods, which we were talking about that earlier a little bit, but really a lot of that's like them telling the same story in different cultures. Really,
Yeah.
it's all repetitive story. You have,
Hmm.
like what Jupiter and Zeus,
Yep. They're all identical. Yeah.
Neptune, Poseidon,
Hmm.
going
Hermes, Mercury. Yep.
telling
You're
the
right.
same story over and over and over again.
Bacchus and Dionysus. Yeah, they're all
And
the
that was
same
something I was
people.
going to bring up because it seemed like a lot of places that I've gone with you, there'll be statues of Bacchus, who
Hmm.
was what? The god, the lowercase god of wine and like orgies and stuff, right?
Yeah, and Pan actually raised him. Hold on, someone's calling me, so that's why my computer's acting up. Hold on. I minimized you somehow.
Everything still looks good on my end,
There we
Rob.
go. Sorry, buddy.
No,
I don't
you're
know.
good.
I don't know why I did that. But yeah, Pan supposedly raised Bacchus. After he was after Bacchus was born out of Jupiter's or Zeus's thigh. Like, it's a very interesting story. Like, Bacchus's mom was a mortal, was a mortal woman. I think her name was Simile or Cybele or something like that, is what I'm seeing in my mind's eye. Something along those lines. But she was convinced by Zeus's wife at the time, or his like crazy. I think she's his sister too. Like Hera was the queen of the gods, and Zeus was the king, right? And Hera was extremely jealous, so she became immortal herself, became a human, and she stayed, like, once she found out this that Zeus had impregnated this mortal woman. So she was in a nursing facility where she was to give labor. That's where the woman was, Simile or something her name was. And Hera posed as another female and convinced her that, like, she didn't believe her that Zeus was the father, and that she would only believe her if she made Zeus show himself to her. And knowing that anytime like a human were to see the god in like their real godlike form, they die, like they incinerate and die, apparently, like spontaneously. And so she convinces this woman to do that. So that's why Zeus has to carry Bacchus to term. He takes like the baby after like the woman, just vanished or whatever, and sews him into his thigh, and then carries him to term for, I think it's 7 months. I think he carries him for 7 months, and he gives birth to him.
It's
And
such a
then
wild story, dude.
it's crazy, right? Like, it's like, where do they come up with that? Like, where, like, there had to be, like, it makes you think, like, that's not just an imagination, right? Like, there's too much detail involved for that to be someone's story. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. It's hard to believe that.
And especially how we've learned all these quote unquote fairy tales that there's far more truth in them than they wanted us to believe. So
Mm-hmm.
now you get a story like that that's passed down. What's what's the significance of it? And it could be like, is it something esoterically as well, possibly? Because I even heard something like a theory about being born of the leg or whatever, is
Yeah.
that catching the seed in wool and then the female putting it inside of themselves, and that's considered a virgin birth because there's no sex.
Interesting.
You know
Well,
what I'm saying?
that's weird that you say that, because like I've already drawn parallels between Dionysus or Bacchus and Jesus,
Hmm.
because Dionysus is the only one of the Olympic pantheon, of the Greek, like, or the Romans and Greek pantheon, that was part mortal, right? Every other one was 100% God, and he was also referred to as twice born because of that. Like, because he was basically born immortal when his mother was killed, and then he was reborn a god after Zeus carried him to term.
Hmm.
So like there's a lot of weird parallels. That's so it's funny that you say that actually.
Yeah, another weird parallel too is like the story of Samson in the Bible and Hercules.
Yeah.
You know, Hercules having the strength, and the story of Samson. You know, he
Samson, I feel like that story sounds more like the Achilles story to me almost, right? I think if I know the Samson story, like
he was a
his
warrior, man. Yeah, Samson was like one of the most powerful men in the Bible.
and he got his power from his hair,
His hair. Yeah.
which is an interesting little tidbit,
It
right?
is. It is. And especially, we talk about programming and conditioning. And actually, I just had this conversation earlier with a friend of mine that is in the Marine Corps. And we were talking about how, like, when you join the military, the first thing I do is buzz your hair all
Mm-hmm.
off, man. You
Yep.
can't have any facial hair, no hair in your top. And your hair being a sensory perceptor, like, that's, almost losing part of yourself a little bit.
100%. That's exactly
But
what they're doing to you. They're make that yeah, they're forcing you to lose your identity. You're
100%.
no longer you anymore. You're GI, bro. You
Yeah,
know?
government issue, and that's what they want.
Exactly. Hmm.
100%. But yeah, no, he got his power from his hair, and what, he killed like a thousand soldiers with the jawbone of a goat, I think it was.
I never
And
heard that.
uh, yeah, no, it's a pretty wild story. He killed a lion with his bare hands.
Wow. He
Yeah.
was from what was the tribe he was from? Because it was a well-known like tribe like successful tribe, I believe, right? That he
Yeah,
was
and my Bible's down in my truck. I honestly, I can't. I apologize, everybody listening. I don't remember what tribe he's from.
but then I do one thing I do remember from the story is how like they basically make Delilah the villain of the story, right?
Yeah, well, they tricked her and essentially tricked Samson. The soldiers did because he gave him a parable, a riddle about actually the lion that he killed with his bare hands, and
Hercules
essentially,
did that too. You're right. There are some crossover. There was also I think a famous story about Hercules, killing a lion.
was Hercules betrayed by women? I can't recall that.
I don't know. There was a lot of stories about him.
Hmm.
Like it was yeah. I'll have to do a little bit more digging on that. I don't know actually.
Yeah, because now they were even talking about it when you brought up Achilles. I was thinking that same kind of thing and
Mm-hmm.
parallels with the stories. And Achilles, he was a half god too, right? He was
Mm-hmm.
dipped into the river and
Yep.
then he was held up by his ankle, and that's where you get the term Achilles heel.
Mm-hmm. I
Because
think
that
he
was
actually may have, I don't even think he was. I don't know if he really was a demigod though. I think his mom was, but or no. Oh, she was a muse. That's what it was. His mother was a muse. That's what it was. And the dipping of the into the river Styx is what gave him his immortality
his
or whatever.
immortality,
Yeah.
but then the Achilles heel.
Yep. Because that's how she held him dipping him into the river by the heel.
In the river. And then Brad Pitt played him in
Mm-hmm.
the movie
Was
what?
Troy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Troy. That was a good movie
That
actually.
was that was a good movie. Like I'm usually pretty critical of those flicks, but that one was pretty well done. I thought it was they took some liberties with the storyline about Achilles and everything in the Myrmidons, but
For
and
sure.
Pa-
And then
and
that,
Patroclus because that was actually his lover. Patroclus is his they called him his cousin, I think, in
but it was
in
actually
the
his
movie.
lover. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And then
exactly.
there that first fight scene when Achilles comes out and kills that Nephilim giant looking dude.
Mm,
That had like King David vibes,
big time. Mm-hmm.
because that dude in that like showing off almost like Brad Pitt, like King, being King David and that being Achilles. Because I mean, talking about Nephilim, because it's something else that you and I talk about the giants all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Goliath was like over 6 cubits tall, which is like over 9 feet tall. And people think that giants aren't real, but we had giant tribes everywhere. And I know that
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of evidence of that down around where you are in Massachusetts.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, that goes back as far as you can, as written history is concerned. Like there's been, you know, written evidence of giants, like in all cultures, all across the world. So it really isn't a conspiracy anymore, or like a mystery. I don't think. Like, if it is, then people just haven't looked hard enough at it. Like looked into it. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah,
it's
because
like,
There's a plethora of evidence everywhere,
Hmm.
thousands and thousands of articles, thousands and thousands of stories, oral tradition. Every tribe has a word for them, or they're different tribes, and they talk about them even being here before the quote unquote white men came,
Hmm.
but they were like lighter colored tribes that were also giants that were in the woods.
Just take a look back at the history of the Ringling Brothers Circus. All right, and they'll give you plenty of photographic evidence of of giants, because like that's what they made. That's what they ended up doing with them. Was turning them into circus freaks basically, and parading them around and making money off them.
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. And with that, like talking about the Giants and King Philip, I mean, I know that you hammer down a lot of the history, especially when it comes to, I know we've talked about Miles Standish quite a bit
Mm-hmm.
and what he did to the tribes around the Northeast. A lot of people aren't even familiar with what they did to the tribes that were here and how they betrayed them, bro.
It's disgusting, really. Like the more you read about it, like how blatant it was. Like the amount of like that guy Miles Standish was the king of it. I say it all the time. Like that guy was a homicidal maniac, dude. Like in straight up sociopath. Like without question. Like the amount of stories I read about that guy luring native leaders and like tribal chiefs and elders into meetings under false pretenses just to basically jump them and kill them with their own weapons, and then only to behead them and display their heads outside the plantation walls for years. Like that was like his thing. It's like, why is everything named after that guy? Like what is up with that? Like there's something wrong with that, Like he's got statues and state forests and burial grounds and monuments and roads and schools and you name it, man,
And all that stuff would have had a name that was different before Standish. But in turn, they rename it after Standish, who is this dude and keeps this evil, horrible energy going. And people don't even know that they're giving energy to it,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And I thought about you when I was down in Florida at St. Augustine because
Yeah.
I learned more about the Florida Indian Wars
Okay.
and where the United States was fighting against the Seminoles. And bro, the Seminoles were outnumbered like it was like multiple to one. It was like I can't remember the facts, but it was like over 30 to 1, I thought. And then by the end of their like guerrilla warfare, like they really evened the playing grounds and the Seminoles like they were putting the whooping on them. Well, they called for a truce, like, the United States Army or whatever called for a
Mm-hmm.
truce. And all the chiefs and the warriors the elected tribal warriors and chiefs and stuff, dude, they went to go to this truce, and what do you think they did, bro?
Same thing I
They
just told you. Yeah, probably.
the same exact thing, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like all
Mm-hmm.
these all the leaders of the tribes go to meet under honorable conditions to come to some sort of truce, and then they literally take the chiefs and the warriors, slaughter them, and remove them from their tribes and spread everybody out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, dude, it made me sick to my stomach and literally brought a tear to my eye because where's the honor in that?
Yeah, no, for real. Like I had the same, I think, gut response that you did. Like when I learned about that stuff, and I think when I was digging in, I was doing the Old North Cemetery in Weymouth, and um, I came across a story about how there was two homes that were in the neighborhood around surrounding the cemetery that when doing construction at their house found skulls and skeletons in the foundation walls, like cemented into like the foundation walls, right? And one of them happened to be Peck Sewitt, who was the son of one. I want to say it may have been Massasoit actually. He was like the military leader of the Wampanoag. This guy Peck Sewitt, right? Him and multiple other leaders went to this meeting with Miles Standish, where he kills the guy with his own knife, and then beheads him and displays his head. And then they found his body in a suburban home in the foundation wall, and they identified it as Peck Sewitt. And that was one of like five in that 1 mile radius that they have found in the foundation walls of those homes. And like it's all connected to the same, homicidal maniacs that first came here, I guess. all the colonists and the settlers.
So what do you think about the slave trade? Do you
Mm.
think that they were bringing people here? Do you think they're exporting people out of here?
Probably a little bit of both, but like yeah, like the whole like African slave trade thing, like that's hard for me to still believe that story. Like seeing a lot of the evidence that people have provided from a lot of different backgrounds, and um, it it just the alternative story makes more sense to me. You know,
Hmm.
kind of like a lot of the stuff we talk about with the buildings. It's like I don't know for sure what the hell happened at all, right? But like what all you can do is like collect the information and like come up with your best guess at this point, right? And like my best guess changes all the time, but like the one thing that doesn't change is the fact that I know we've been lied to. And like that just gets more and more, that case gets stronger by the day. Like the more you look into his story, the more facts you find it, the more dots you connect, man. Like the more lies we've been told about everything.
100%, bro. And the West India and East India, trading company, they worked with slaves down, and we talk about Charleston all the
Mm-hmm.
time, Charleston, South Carolina, which was
Savannah, Georgia.
Savannah,
Yeah.
Georgia, the same kind of thing. And they were heavily involved with slave trading. And like the tribes that were there that were here, they came up, and when I say they, I'm talking about the colonizers, the man, the people that came in here is trying to rewrite everything.
Mm-hmm.
But they came up with the Indian term as like a general term just to describe the people that were here.
Yeah.
And like we've talked about this a bunch of times, there are people of all different melanations, I guess you'd say. There are lighter people, darker people, and the
Mm-hmm.
skin color thing is a huge thing that we really have to get past because we're all kind of a big mix at these days, and we're all really, what's the definition of a native? And this isn't trying to offend anybody, but like
Yeah,
in
yeah.
like we are all born here. We all have mixed backgrounds from all different places. And the more that we lock in with an identity saying that I'm this or I'm that, it's a kind of a limiting belief. And we've got to move past that because we're all just different shades of wheat, here trying to, live and be. And that's just one of the other ways that they keep us disconnected,
Mm-hmm.
is based solely on melanin. Because I think that everybody at one point was probably the same color. And there was probably some, they even talk about it biblically, people that were, had leprosy. A lot of it was like white skin. So
Mm-hmm.
was there some sort of genetic modification? Just like, we've talked about before, blue eyes, like blue-eyed people, you can trace everybody back to a common ancestor because it was some sort of, genetic difference and it can all be linked the same. But yeah,
Red hair, same deal.
right, exactly,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. But I think that just like when we were talking about giants, because they talk about there being blonde and red-haired giants that were here. Some of them had two rows of teeth, with six fingers and six
Mm-hmm.
toes on each hand, and that's a legitimate thing. And I think that there's always been a mixture of people here, and
Agreed.
they try to put that line in the sand and get us divided on race or color, and
Mm-hmm.
it's really not supposed to be that way.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. I think the evidence that I've come across, like anyway, speaks to that in volumes. Like it's nothing but it's clear as day to me that there were multiple advanced civilizations, multiple cultures, multiple complexions, um, multiple different styles of art and masonry and architecture, and clearly probably had different beliefs and whatever. But like to say it's all one or all the other, or like that's making the same silly mistake I feel like we all did when we bought into his story to begin with. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? Like it's like putting it all in like the broad brush approach. Like that doesn't really work. Like we live in a very gray world. Nothing's black and white, dog. You know what I mean? Like that's
100%, bro.
it's kind of on us to do that. You know?
Well, I met this guy in St. Augustine, and he actually gave me a ride in the horse carriage. And the dude was a phenomenal man, had an old soul, and we had a really deep conversation. And he was much darker than me, melanated, but he came from a very diverse and mixed background. And then we
Hmm.
were talking about like my background and mixture, and talking about the different tribes that are in my lineage and everything. And he was talking about, how there's a lot of power in that blood, but he also said that people that come from mixed backgrounds, which a lot of us are, is the reason why is because we have DNA on both sides, the oppressed and the oppressors. And within that, we have that DNA to make sure those same patterns don't repeat again. So when we have, some of our soul or some of our life coming from both sides of it, we are
Hmm.
here to be the change and not to let it repeat itself again.
I get that, man. I completely get that. That makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, I think I've always looked at like my Irish background,
Mhm.
as kind of like a defining characteristic of me. I mean, I look very Irish. I've always, I came from a very Irish family. My mother was 100%, both her parents, and my we went there when I was a child to visit all of our relatives over there. Like we were in, like my uncle Sean from Galway used to call me on a weekly basis. Couldn't understand a word he said ever. And then, hello, Robbie. That was it. That was it. That was all I could get out of it. Uh, Everything else, he spoke perfect English. I just couldn't understand past the brogue, but which is also that's like a negative term, I guess. Um, like the brogue term. It's a reference to a shoe, I think, or something, right?
Really?
I think so. Like it has something to do with like peasants. Um, but anyhow, yeah, I mean, they've been obviously oppressed since the beginning of time, pretty much. And the more you look into that, I think, it kind of just goes in hand with everything you were just saying.
Yeah.
Like Jamaicans are like 78% of Jamaicans have Irish blood,
Yeah.
right?
Huh.
And
Wow.
like that's because they were enslaved next to each other in the same plantations,
Mhm.
by the same colonizers. That's also why that's where the Jamaican accent comes from. Like it's a mixture of the Irish accent and whatever they spoke prior, right?
100%, bro.
Um, and yeah, I mean that's like that stuff. I mean, it just goes to show you that there's really, I mean, it's black and white mean absolutely nothing, dude. It's always been green. You know what I mean? Like that's always been the driving color for every decision that all of the leaders of this world have has ever seen. That's all their main focus has always been. There's no arguing that.
Yeah. No, and dude, talking about the Irish, like you said, the Irish, there used to be, and there, I know there's posters of it, I have it saved, pictures of it, but like they would have a scale. I think we've talked about it before, where we'd have the Irish and a black guy,
Hmm.
they'd have them right next to each other on this like a monkey scale.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah,
don't
no,
even,
exactly.
that's how, and when I can't remember where I was in Massachusetts, and I came across the historical sign on one of the canals, and I talked about how they brought in an influx during like the Great Famine of all the Irish and made them dig the canal or dig the ditches.
Yeah, the famine
And,
they caused. Yeah,
and
yeah.
they called them diggers.
Mm.
Just, you know what I mean? Just
Hmm.
like a derogatory term, like the opposite way. They called them the diggers.
Oh yeah.
And
Well, dude, that goes right with what we were talking with the redheads. Like one of the things when all that whole like trend happening with the redheads are black or
yeah, yeah.
gingers are black. Like it obviously got my mind. Like I started doing a little research myself and watching some people's videos and then like a lot of things like I kind of connect my own dots a lot of times and I was like, why do they like I've always thought of this, like why do they call them gingers to begin with? Like ginger's not really red, right? It's like more brown. It's not really red colored, I would say. It's just an odd word to use for a redhead, right? Like why not like a tamale, hot tamale or a pepper, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
something more red, right? But then if you rearrange the letters of ginger, what do you get? And
Ah,
and that's the only other word probably that happens with. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like I can't think of any others. Maybe there's probably a few, but I don't know.
No, that's interesting, but because there's some legitimacy in that.
Right? Well, I mean, yeah, there's no other explanation for it, and it kind of makes perfect sense based off everything else I learned about like what we're talking about, how they were enslaved together and like how they were basically, oppressed from the very dawning of time.
Yeah.
Like as soon as like the British, the United Kingdom was kind of a thing, the royal family over there, like Ireland was in a whole bunch of shit, ever since then.
It always seems like it boils down to the same class of people,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that they're oppressing the other wide class of people,
Yep. Usually.
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 Like
Yeah.
the term redneck, people don't know where that came from. That's derogatory. That comes from white slaves, quote unquote white. I don't like saying the word white or black or whatever, but white
Yeah.
slaves that turn red in the sun, they call them redneck.
Mostly Scotch and Irish. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like down south, like in the Appalachians and stuff. Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely. That's where that term came from. It's also where we got like wow, what's like basically folk music kind of like our like what we know as folk music, like came from those folks as well.
Absolutely.
Or
Absolutely.
bluegrass. That's the one I was thinking of.
Bluegrass.
Bluegrass. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One the term cracker, that one always cracks me up. But that came from like because Florida had like ranchers, like cowboys, and they called them crackers.
Huh.
And
Hockeys.
yeah, my buddy Kyle back here is. You want to say hi, Kyle?
How you doing?
Hey,
Yeah,
what's
come.
up? What's up, Kyle? How you doing, buddy? Hey, what's
Nice to
up, man?
meet you.
How you doing, brother? Nice
I'm
to meet you.
good.
Yeah, Kyle's a good dude. We've been hanging out today, and he's gonna come on and tell his story sometime. He has a really interesting, amazing, and inspiring story. So
That's awesome.
I'm excited for him to come on sometime. Maybe you'll even meet him, Batman.
Yeah, hopefully, dude. We got what to do for an adventure.
We are
Sometime.
totally due for an adventure, and that's a great segue into the next thing I want to talk about is that there's a lot of people that are bringing up Boston again.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And so I was talking with Big T, obviously, and he wants to go to Boston. And I was like, dude, Batman Rob, he's our guy.
Yeah.
And dude, you told me some crazy stuff because, just like Charleston, South Carolina being padded out like what, 60% into the ocean,
Hmm.
Boston's pretty padded out pretty far into the water, and it's all on pylons and there's tunnels and everything underneath it. And dude, you told me some crazy stories about some of those buildings having water running underneath them in the city and
Oh,
everything.
for real?
And
Yeah.
yeah, let's talk about Boston a little bit, bro.
Sure, man. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Big T definitely. I can't wait to link up, dude. Like you guys, that would be awesome if all of us could get together, though.
That's what
Like,
I'm saying, dude. Like the
yeah.
three of us link up, let's make it happen. He was talking about it. I told him
Mm.
immediately, and I gave you and Logan a shout out on the first episode of the
Oh
pod.
yeah, I saw that. Thank you, brother. I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. And
Hmm.
Got family in Boston too.
you got family in Boston?
Yep.
Well, maybe I'll bring Kyle with me
Yeah,
sometime.
man. More the merrier. You
Um,
know.
Boston was crazy. Still one of the craziest things I've ever seen to this day is the public library when you
Mm.
took me there. But just learning about the tunnel systems and like the water running under these cities. Like, can you talk about some of this? Because it's pertinent to like the mud flood and everything with the
Yeah.
different everywhere.
No, for real. And it actually, so Logan actually said something funny to me too. The last time I did, well, one of my last lives, I did one in Miles Standish Monument in Duxbury, and it's overlooking Duxbury and Kingston Bay. It's like right on the ocean there, and we're looking at a map in the little park that we're in, and Logan said this like on the live. He's like, one thing I can never get out of my head is that the fact like how much of Massachusetts looks just like it was filled in with water at one point. Like, and then I started looking at the map from that perspective, and I was like, wow, dude, I, you could be right. Like, because, like, if you look at like what we call Saquosh, it's a long, long sandbar, right? At the end of like the boot in Massachusetts. And
Yeah,
that's,
yeah.
and like, and you can only get out there by boat or four-wheel drive. Like you have to, it's a over an hour drive just on the beach alone to get out all the way out there, right? Like it's
That's like
wild.
way past out Gloucester and stuff, right?
No, no, this is down by Plymouth. So like
Or Plymouth, sorry.
right where the pilgrims landed.
Yeah, the
So
Pilgrims.
yeah, the Saquosh actually I was told they landed there briefly on the sandbar, like they beached there, I think, and then they moved on into the harbor or whatever. But when I started looking at it from that perspective, like Logan said, it literally looks from that sandbar, like all the way to like the Cape, may have been filled in with water at one point. It was all just land, and then like it's like a big pool. It's like a big swimming pool in the middle of like the state. Is kind of how it looks. I never really thought about it until recently when he brought that up. So I thought that was interesting.
There is a lot of lowland through there. I mean, there
Mm.
really is. And then given that spot too, with like the Hockomock
Mm-hmm.
and like that whole spot, I mean, that's a huge swamp, and a lot of that seems to sit pretty low.
Oh, for real. I
And
mean,
drop some of those.
my house is surrounded by 6 or 7 ponds. Like if you look at the map on Mass in Massachusetts, like, and you find like that the centralized section with all the ponds, there's like one section that's right around my house in Pembroke, and it's like that's why I live off like a road called Mattakeesit Street. Like it was called the place of many fish
Yeah.
in Wampanoag. That was what they referred to it as.
And then
And
Massachusetts, you told me is what, the place of many hills or many mounds?
yes, I think it's mounds. They tell us hills, the place of many hills, but I think mounds makes more sense to me because like the amount of mounds that are around here is baffling, you know.
100%. And another thing too, like around that area that you're at, is the Bridgewater Triangle,
Mm-hmm.
like in the Hockomock Swamp,
Mm-hmm.
and that's like all around your area, and that's like for everybody that's not familiar with the Bridgewater Triangle, it's kind of like the Bermuda Triangle or the triangle that I talk about in Vermont here that I'm in the Bennington Triangle, and
Mm-hmm.
it's literally a triangular location that has a whole bunch of wild paranormal stuff that
Mm-hmm.
happens in it. You got Sasquatch and Puckwudgies and Thunderbirds and giant snakes and different lights and UAPs and all sorts of wild
Phan-
stuff. And
Phantom native fires and calls is the one that they hear over in Hockomock Swamp area, like the ghosts, like ghost fires and what they believe to be native calls.
yeah, because the natives, that's where they would take off into the swamp to hide from the invaders, essentially.
Well, yeah, in their language, Hockomock meant the place where the spirits dwell.
Hmm.
So it was like they considered it like a extra protection, right? And during the King Philip's War, actually, the last tribal chief, what is his name now? It's gonna bother me. Um, uh, Anawan, Chief Anawan of the Wampanoag. That was where he surrendered. Was in Hockomock Swamp, and just like the other stories we were telling, dude. So this guy was like old. He was probably like 70 years old. He was the elder chief. Last one that was still like, independent. And they convinced him they would sign a truce, peace, right? And they killed him and his entire family, beheaded him, and put his head on a stake outside the plantation walls for several years. And now he's got a rock named after him, you
Huh.
know? But
It's
yeah.
always the same theme. Like, how can, I don't know. And it just disgusts me because they take out their leaders and disrespect them. It's all dishonorable entirely.
Mm-hmm. No, it's gross, man. It's gross. It's like hard to like how can you support that when you really learn about it? That's why they didn't teach us that.
Well, I was
You
just
know,
gonna
because
say,
that
because we learned what that the Pilgrims came over on the Mayflower, and then fast forward a few hundred years, and it's the American Revolution. Like I know I said that last podcast, but that's
is.
literally like what they like. Yeah, Christopher Columbus, and then bam, American Revolution. That's
Yep. Yep. The Mass Bay Colony's seal, right? The first colony here by the Pilgrims. You know what it said on it? It was a big native a depiction of a native on the center of this seal, right? You know what the slogan was coming out of his mouth? It's
no.
still you can still find it today. Come over and help us. That's what it said. Because that's I'm sure that's what they were saying,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the complete opposite.
Yeah, dude.
You know, I learned about the Abenakis going down and fighting, and they were a peaceful tribe up around here, and then they're supposed to be an incredibly peaceful tribe, and they end up going down and fighting, you know, alongside the other tribal members to try to repel all the advancements, because that's what people don't realize too. And this is why like the Trail of Tears is so incredibly important, is that all the tribes were removed from their ancestral areas here, like on the East Coast, and moved literally to the center of the country and put in foreign lands.
Mm-hmm.
And they're ripped out of their homelands.
All over the place, removed. Like every time I was just reading about this today, like when I was learning about Josiah Wampatuck and like there was there was Queen Patience was her name. This was a native queen. Her name was Patience. Thought that was interesting. But we have a road named after her in Pembroke called Queensbrook that I'd always wondered what that was named after. I thought it was something England related, but I guess not. But in the stories I've been reading, like every time you see about like when it says so and so purchased the land from, like from Massasoit, like Massasoit sold it to Miles Standish for whatever, a couple trinkets and some furs or something, right? Whatever they say. Every time that happens, though, native families were physically removed from the lands. Like it wasn't like a plot of land like my yard. You know what I'm talking about? Like we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of acres and that encompass massive areas of land where people were living for generations. And when these deeds were signed over, they got kicked out and relocated.
Yeah, using their contracts, which they had no understanding of what was really going on because that's not how they operated.
No, and we took it a step further and created I forget what the term is. We created this whole like basically this legal term for us to go basically to give us the right to go back and have people re-sign over land to make sure that we had it in writing, right? So I forget what it was a Latin phrase is what these were called. Um, but we basically there was a big movement in the U.S. like where because we at one point the colonizers realized that they didn't have documented evidence for ownership of all these lands that they had taken, right? So what they did was they retroactively went back to these family members that had nothing to do with the deed being signed over, and basically force them into signing some type of contract stating that they don't have any rights or ownership to that land. And there was a legal term that was like created to do that. I forget what it was.
Yeah, swindled.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yep.
Uh, let's see, we got 9 people still watching here.
Now what's up?
Appreciate you all watching and listening. Do you guys have any questions for Batman Rob? I know that there's a little bit of a delay between our Zoom conversation and the live on YouTube, but if y'all have any questions for Rob, let me know, please. I'm just
Oh,
gonna.
one of the things I wanted to mention before I forget too, when we were talking about Pan
Yep.
and like the language etymologies and stuff. So and also the book New English Canaan. So it connects them all. But that guy Thomas Morton wrote that like and that book was published in 1637, I believe. Um, and he wrote that how the settlers, like a lot of the settlers, believed that the natives were pan worshipping heathens that came from Tartaria. Says it in his own words. Like I did a video on it. I plan on doing a couple more on that book in general. Um, and like how like they believed that they crossed the frozen sea and all this stuff, and like they had like this how they had a what he said was evidence of an advanced like written like our literature like literacy like language and stuff like books that had been wiped away washed away, and how they reason they said they were pan worshiping though was because of all the names with pan in it, like Mattapan in Boston, or I didn't know this, but Nantucket used to be Pantucket. Did you know
Really?
that? Yeah,
No.
No kidding.
yeah, I didn't know that either. Like, and there's a few others, but it's like it's interesting though, right? Like why would they also be worshiping Pan? Like
Well, it
it's
makes me think of like the term panhandle.
yeah, all of it, anywhere with Pan, you know, like it's Pan, like it's all over the place,
And
really.
this is why etymology is so incredibly important. It
Mm-hmm.
really is because it gets you thinking about all these different perspectives when it comes to language. Because English is such a smashed together language of all different things.
Yeah, it's basically the occult language. Like that's like what the occult uses. Like even non-English speakers will use English for curses and spells and stuff because like
From
that's what it was created for.
the spell casting and
Yeah,
dude, and
the
it's
grimoire,
wild.
right?
Yeah, and
Yeah, they
people
get.
might not think this is real, but
Mm.
like legitimately it's all spell casting, and that's what we've learned too, is that when we're speaking, it's much more powerful.
The word grammar comes from the word that used to mean witch, I believe, grimoire, right? Like that.
Grimoire.
Yeah, that's like where we got the word grammar from. I mean, what do you think we're getting curse from?
Yep.
Cursive or
Cursive.
yeah,
Huh.
like spelling, spells. Like it's all the same. Like that it's not just coincidence, dog. You know that.
No, it's not
There's no
coincidence.
such thing.
No, it's just like when you put on your television and you turn on the channel and you watch your program.
Yep.
Like that's the subconscious programming,
Yeah, exactly. That is controlled by your government,
which
which
means mind control. Govern, control,
exactly.
meant is mind. Literally
Exactly.
means controlling your mind.
Yep. Like college means deputes in oh shit. I forget what it means. Deputes in something, but it's basically means partners. And like so that's what they're like when you get deputized, like that's what college, that's where the term college comes from. It's basically them telling us how they're deputizing us to carry on their nonsense. You know, like that's basically what they're saying.
Yeah. Dude, and that's honestly, Rob, and I know we're kind of going, I guess, away from what we were initially talking about, but that too, like learning all this stuff, it's like I'm at the point, bro. Like, obviously, I don't need any more convincing. I know, just like you, like,
Hmm.
I don't need any more convincing. I know they've been lying to us about everything, but
Hmm.
it's like, how do we move forward, bro? Like, and I know that you and I always joke about the anti-liberated bricklayer party, you know,
Hmm. Yep. Yeah,
and
yeah. Yep.
and getting that going. But it's like really, I want to start talking about, talking about solutions is incredibly important as opposed to talking to the problems because we're all, putting out spells and stuff like that. How do you think that, we improve things as as a group of people? I know it's kind of a deep question, but
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously there's a lot to goes into that answer, but I think for at least for the interim, what we're doing is we're in the introductory stages still, of this whole awakening, which is happening. You know what I mean? Like the even people that friends of mine that were calling me crazy, a year ago, they're singing a different tune lately. Because it's kind of hard to deny in so many areas. But I mean, after the information gathering point, I mean, obviously there has to be some type of like implementation, right? Like something needs to, like there needs to be a step taken by somebody. Um, and for as much as I hate it all, I mean, it seems like politics, like some, it has to be involved to some degree, right? Like how else do you make like not that's what I mean. That's why I hate even bringing it up because, like, yeah, it sounds like nonsense even as I'm saying it. But like, how else do you initiate change,
mhm.
right?
There's got to be some
Even though I've
sort of
never witnessed that once with any government entity in my life, right? Like that has actually like followed through and initiated change, like for the benefit of the society. But it's nice to believe that that's possible still, you know. But
like
a
a
change has to
legitimate,
occur.
yeah, a legit, not to cut you off, like a
Oh, not at
legitimate,
all.
I don't want to use the word like hierarchy, but a legitimate hierarchy of people where you can trust that aren't going to lie to you, and have like everybody's best, everybody's best intentions at hand, or but you know what I mean? Like,
Hmm. No
I think
outside
that
money, man. It's the only way to do that, right? Like that's how you have to do it. Like you have to police that. Like where are you getting your money? Like because that's what always that's what runs the show, man. It always that's what will point to X marks the spot every single time.
following the money 100%.
Hmm.
And our fiat currency that we have that literally
Hmm.
says New Order of the Ages on the back of it in Latin.
Yeah, it's just a useless piece of paper, right?
Oh, it is.
That is all it is. I mean, it'd be lovely if we could just eliminate that altogether. I mean, because like I'm all for living off the grid and cutting out the Big Brother in every way, shape, and form. Like I don't want any dependency at all on something or person that I don't trust for the to the least. You know what I'm saying?
100%, dude. 100%. And because the value is in us. It's not in the paper that they assign. And they try to associate that paper with the value of us, and it doesn't work that way because they need the skills in order for their system to go on. And that's, like
Correct.
we are
They need us. We don't
uh,
need them. You know what I
100%.
mean? Like that's really like they're like half of their job is convincing us that we do. Like
Mhm.
it might even be more than that. Really. Like that's probably what 90% of their job is somehow convincing us that we need them. Like that's like because I mean societies have done it over and over again, unfortunately. Like everyone seems to make the same mistakes, right? It's like it's almost it seems like it's unavoidable that like corruption eventually takes hold, right? And that's what's like kind of disheartening about the whole thing, right? Is like because people are involved. If people are involved, there's going to be trust issues and there's variables that you can't predict.
And doing like the trust issues is a big thing, especially being, in the truther community,
Hmm.
because and like I have no respect for anybody that's trying to deceive anybody. And like I know that you and I feel the same way about that. Like
Hmm.
we're not here in a place to deceive anybody. We're not here in a place to add to any of this BS that's going on. And that's really what it boils down to. If you have people that are aware enough, like collectively, I think you get to a certain point where you don't revert back to that other BS. You know what I
It's
mean? Because you've
yeah.
done enough of that shadow work or done enough of that work to realize that that's not to the benefit of everybody else.
No, or, nor you. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like that's one of the things I think people have to realize first is that like the ego is not helping you, dog.
No,
Like it's probably your worst enemy. And a lot of people don't realize that. Like I think I used to joke about it. Like when I had my awakening, kind of like during 2020, like we were talking about, like I had family members mention like say things to me about like how I was different, right? And like how even people being like, I didn't know you like I kept hearing like I didn't know you were this smart. Like, I didn't know you knew like how do you know that? It's like I don't really know how I know that, but like and then I started piecing it all together. I honestly think it's no coincidence that when I stopped giving a shit about what anybody else thinks about me or what like listening to people telling me what to do and just making my own decisions about stuff, like I think it freed up a whole bunch of my brain space to, remember dates and silly, terminology and words and stuff that I probably wouldn't remember 5, 6 years ago. You know what I mean?
absolutely, bro. Absolutely. And going with your conversation here, you talk about this earlier, where, for the things that you were talking about, some people were calling you quote unquote crazy.
Hmm.
It's like now that it's circling back and people are like, hey, Rob, can we talk
Hmm.
more about this?
Yeah, yeah. Yep.
But again, on the awareness journey and all that. But like you said, the biggest part is not caring about what other people think. And I think trust and faith are incredibly important, and I do believe that there's a universal plan. I believe that, there's a big plan in the grand scheme of things, and having faith is important, but not caring what other people think and just being yourself, like people thought I was crazy, man. Like,
Hmm.
oh, wait, you're a cop, you're a detective, and you're going to quit to go hug trees and walk around barefoot and talk about giants? Like, yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, 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 yeah. You wish you could, dude. Like
Yeah,
right?
right, right.
I bet
No.
they do. I bet they do. You know what I mean? They won't admit it. They won't admit it. You
Oh,
know?
dude, now it's coming around like all those guys like talk to me still, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? And like I run into them like, "Hey, weren't you just here? Weren't you just there?" And I see that all these people again, you know what I mean? Like you kind of want to show, and I'm sure it felt similar to you. Like you want to show and prove to people, like, dude, I'm not freaking crazy. Like I'm just incredibly intelligent, and I have very good pattern recognition, and things just don't make sense. And I'm talking to some other people that are very intelligent, and we kind of agree. And like
Hmm.
we just need to get you all up to speed. But you don't want people to think that you're crazy for talking about these things, especially when it makes complete logistical or logical sense to you, you know?
Well,
And
yeah. No, that's the kicker, right? Is like when it makes logical sense to you, it's like hard to understand how it doesn't to other people, right? Like it's kind of it's easy to judge or jump to conclusions. Like you see it in the comment section all the time, man. Like I cannot stand, dude. Like the amount like when people put like 4 or 5 laughing emojis or like you know what I mean, and then like like one word or something. It's like that's really that like that was that necessary? Like you got to throw that in there. You know what I mean? Like what do you
right?
didn't even know what you were gonna say. You didn't even have anything to fucking say. That's why you used the emoji. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like just shut your mouth. It doesn't make any sense. But like you lose all credibility when you do that. But it's like because I same thing with people, calling you crazy because like what was the one I got recently? There was I've been getting some good ones lately, like as far as like the haters on there. Like someone called me, told me to stop smoking crack and that everything was all modern that I was looking at. And
Huh.
I'm like, what? Define modern then. Define modern. Because by his story, like this place was built in 1871. Is that modern to you? Because
Right? Is
like,
that modern to
you
you?
know what I mean? Like I don't people just they drive me crazy like that, but like you can't help those people. You know, you can lead a horse to water. You can't make them drink type deal, right?
Dude, the cognitive dissonance is a huge thing because I can have conversations with somebody and I can see where it hits a wall. And like they'll be intrigued about certain things, and then you hit something, and it's like, okay, I'm going to back up off of that one because that one, they're not going to pick up on that whatsoever. And it's just
Uh-huh.
like too outside their cognitive ability to be able to figure it out yet. You know, like they're just not there yet.
Yeah, I mean, not to switch gears onto something more, I guess, a little more controversial, but like with the whole like Israel topic as of late, like that's really had some, caused me to have some pretty interesting conversations with folks, like because I have a very hard time biting my tongue,
Mhm.
um, and it's really because I have done the legwork. You know what I mean? I've done my research. Like I know what I'm talking about with a lot of the stuff. Like I try to avoid talking about things I don't know about. You know what I mean? Like I'll let you talk about them. And listen. But it's yeah that topic has a lot of my like some of my good friends that are very religious Christians and stuff like that that have like we've had to have some pretty difficult conversations on that topic. Um but it's all I mean it's all for the betterment, I think, right? Like because like I think that's how I'm looking at it, is like those conversations need to happen. Like these things have to occur for change to happen, right? So it's like it may not be fast as we would all like it, but it is. I think slowly but surely people are kind of seeing through the veil.
100%, bro. And like what you were talking about earlier, when you stop caring about what other people think, it opens up your mind in a huge way because that's like a big limiting belief. And
Hmm.
with that, when you're speaking your truth and being your genuine yourself, like that's a ripple effect too. Because if you're open to talking about these things, and especially if you're confident in what you're saying and you're open to it, like that's very powerful, because other people will be more apt to talk about it, like, oh, well, Batman Rob talks about this stuff, and I kind of respect what he says and he's got a really good perspective on it. Well, I wonder what this person thinks about it, and it creates that ripple effect and, allows other people to speak more freely.
Yeah, man, and it's terrifying, right? Like to think that you or to make that jump, right? For a lot of people like that are listening to us speak, like when they hear like the confidence and the facts and that we can back it up with and the experience, like that's terrifying to a lot of people. And their first gut reaction is six laugh emojis. Yeah, you know what I mean? And some hateful, comment. Like that's like their, childish 12-year-old, emotional outburst, right? Like as opposed to thinking like, well, maybe he's not that crazy. Like maybe he's not completely dumb like I'm saying that he is. You know what I mean? Like I want to believe that he's stupid and that's why he came to these conclusions. Like just try to subtract yourself that like from that thought process for a moment and just think what if he's onto something? Like what about that? Like why do we do this? Like why is that the case? How did they really build that in 1 year? You
Mhm.
know what I mean? Like how? Like there's so many like I don't that's why it's not even I'm not making statements half the time. Like 90% of the shit that I'm doing is just asking questions. It's like seriously, like how? Like how did we do that? Why would we do that? Like
Why?
why
Yeah.
would we build it on top of the mountain? We could have built it at the base of the mountain when they had horses and wagons. Like, why would they go all the way up there to do it? Like why would they use 10-ton stones? Why wouldn't they use the wood in the forest right there? You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like little things. It just doesn't make sense.
Well, and that's their programming too. It's like you argue about some of these things with some people, and they're like, well, that's not what it is. Well, why? Because in high school, your high school teacher taught you out of a history book that
Yeah.
this is what it's supposed to be. Who writes that history book? Who has the overall say of what criteria curriculum gets taught? because we're telling you from the outside perspective here, the math ain't mathing,
right?
but the only one that's jiving is the same gatekeepers that have been lying to us since the beginning. So,
Hmm. I was just thinking about that. Like everybody knows the saying, like, history is told by the victors, right? Like that's something we were all taught in history class. So you what? You believe everything else they say, but not that one? Like,
right?
you know what I'm saying? Like you believe everything else they told you, but not that one, even though they taught every one of us that, right? And that's probably the only true thing that they taught us is that. Like, because the perspective, the perception, the angle, that's everything, dude. That's everything. This the other quote, perception is reality, right? Like that's what it is. That's what it is. We create our own reality. We know that.
100% do. And bro, that's what's got me chuckling though, because like when you see these people get offended, like, and again, I'm not trying to offend anybody, but I remember there was an incident like even in that live we were in Boston, and this dude was arguing with me, saying that we were disrespecting our ancestors, saying that they
Mm.
didn't build it and things like that. And like, that's not what we're saying. Well,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, somebody built it. We're not taking away from anything, but that's where the programming goes so deep. And it's really, you see that inner child because all of us, I don't care how old somebody is, they could be 20 years old, they could be 75 years old. At the end of the day, we all still feel like that inner child, right? And like when you see people lash out like that, and when you try to throw something out there and like, no, no, that's not what it is. Well, why? Again, because you were taught that in high school. Well, and then it really just turns into the, yeah, well, you're stupid. And
Mm.
that's where the emoji thing comes from, but it's just like children. That's
Mm-hmm.
all it is. And it's like, okay, well, you know.
That's like the most recent video I did. It's doing pretty well, surprisingly. I might have gotten out of the doghouse, but I made a joke about how in all the Clint Eastwood flicks there's no stone buildings anywhere. Like there's no big bridges and stone churches. Like I know that there was based off the evidence that you found and Luminary Lighthouses found and average white guy and definition and everybody else all the way down the line, like that the West was way more settled, but like while it was still wild than we're led to believe, right? And everyone was like, "Oh, Clint Eastwood!" Like the amount of comments I got, dude, about how Clint Eastwood filmed like spaghetti westerns in Italy, and uh, and how it wasn't even here in the U.S. And like I had to like copy and paste the response to the same comment. Like that's like literally what I started doing because there was so many of them. Like that was like such a small part of my video. Like it was one line, Lance, and that was what everybody gravitated towards, right? And it goes right back to that childish instinct that you were talking about, right? It's like, well, I can't really call him out for anything else he said because that's all pretty factual, So I'm just gonna attack him for his silly joke about Clint Eastwood instead. You know what I mean? Like that's like the angle they took, and that's why they did it. You don't have to tell me. I don't need to know you. I know why you did it. You know what I mean? But it was funny to me. I kept seeing it. It's like, dude, I know all about the spaghetti westerns. All right, and like, does that even matter? Because like, what were they still trying to depict? That was still supposed to be a depiction of the Wild West, right? That's why they chose that landscape. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? So I don't give a shit if it's in Australia, right? They're still trying to say that it's the Wild West because that's what the Wild West was supposed to look like, according to them. It's like, I don't know, you know?
No, it's absolutely wild, dude. The comments like they crack me up. There was one I saw on Big T's video that he just posted, and it was on his video, and I see the lady posted like, "Lance, button up your shirt. Nobody wants to see your nipples." And be a man. And my only response was like, "Hey, I don't wear shoes either," you know.
Yeah, right. What's she have against a little nip, dude? What's wrong with her?
That's what I'm saying. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is how I was created, you know? Like I want to be like, you're lucky I even got pants on right now, lady. You
Hmm.
know? Like,
That's that Miles Standish, William Bradford Puritan brainwashing that's still in existence to this day.
absolutely,
I
bro.
mean, the blue laws like were a real thing around me for a long time. Did you guys have those in Vermont?
Like all the stupid laws that
Like you
like
couldn't buy liquor on Sundays and stuff like that?
yeah, there's one in New York is you're not supposed to talk in an elevator.
What?
And it's like one of those blue yeah, I'm pretty sure it was like one of those blue laws. You're not supposed to talk in an elevator.
Like
There's like one
where does that term come from?
what's
Blue
that?
blue laws. Where did they get that one?
You know, that's a great question.
You know, I just occurred to me. I never really thought about it.
Blue Lodge.
Mm, mm.
Well, there's one I remember I read it was like you can't like walk with an ice cream cone in your pocket, or like, there was another one that was illegal for bullfrogs to croak past like midnight or something. There's
Oh
some
yeah,
shit.
remember the there was a famous Seinfeld episode, like one of the last ones, like the Good Samaritan law. Like they were in some like small town and they watched some guy get mugged and they didn't do anything. So they got arrested for this thing called the Good Samaritan law. Like they were
Or
supposed to
not.
help.
No.
Yeah, they were just because they stood there and laughed at the guy instead.
Well,
So,
dude, like different side tangent. Seinfeld, like Kramer talked about some wild stuff. I saw like a clip of like a bunch of different clips of him talking about things, and like obviously they put the truth in Hollywood. They put the truth in all these shows that they show us.
mhm,
Like so much of the truth, bro. Everybody that's listening, Hollywood uses cinema to tell us the truth in plain sight, and they want you to believe that it's theater and it's just
mhm,
satire and all that. Just like these comedy roasts, you see these comedians that get roasted and they say all these wild things to them, and it's like talking about low blow after low blow. A
mhm.
lot of that stuff is probably allegedly real. Just saying, and that's
It's
the way that
ritualistic. It's ritualistic.
hundred
Yeah,
percent, dude,
1000%.
100%.
Hmm.
But like how Rob and I were talking about like the spell casting and all that. You know, we've talked about it a million times, dude, but Hollywood, Holly Tree, like they're casting, they're broadcasting spells. And people, you know, just think it's satire, it's comedy, but it's really them showing the truth in plain sight.
Hmm. And they've been doing it since the beginning, too. You know, Alex Jones was talking about this stuff a long time ago. Everybody was calling him crazy. You know, just
I
like they
mean,
do it. They
Bill
do this.
Hicks, you ever see that?
No, what's that?
That Alex Jones is actually Bill Hicks, allegedly.
Who's Bill Hicks?
The comedian, Bill Hicks. You ever see him?
I don't know if I probably have. That's the name sounds familiar.
Bro, that was an interesting rabbit hole to go down.
That is interesting. I've
Yeah.
never, yeah. But I mean, I don't know, man. Like that guy, I mean, if he's part of the in crowd, they didn't treat him very well. You know what I mean? Like, that guy's been tormented his entire life for everything he says. But I mean, rightfully so. He's pretty outspoken about a lot of stuff. But like, he ended up being right about a lot of stuff too. You know?
It does get to a certain point, though. It's like certain people that are that high up in it. You know what I mean? Like, what do you really know?
Mm.
You
Yeah,
know?
yeah. I mean, he was the one that leaked all the stuff about Bohemian Grove, to my knowledge, right? Like, he went undercover in there. I think, like, didn't he? I think that was like he was one of
Yeah,
the
he
first.
snuck in like
Yeah.
years ago and got footage of the owl and all that
Yes.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that alone, I'll always have respect for him just doing that. Like, because that opened a lot of people's eyes to a lot of stuff. Like, I mean, the Bushes have an estate there. Like they have their own little plot. Like so did the Clintons, I think. And
Well, how about when we were in Boston and we went to the lodge for the tour and they talked about how the president had to kneel before the janitor.
yeah, yeah. Before the groundskeeper, yeah, the White House gardener. That's what it was. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, because he
yeah.
outranked him or whatever.
Yeah, I think he was like was he I think he was the Grand Master or something, right? The gardener wasn't he the Grand Master or
I
I don't
can't
know,
recall. Can't
but
recall that whole thing. And I still, for everybody that's listening right now, like it was Rob, Dragon Jedi Allison, and myself. And we went to Boston. We took the tour there, and I GoPro'd the whole thing, and I have the footage. And that whole experience was freaking wild. Like especially when the dude that was giving us the tour talked about how they all get together and watch Game of Thrones.
mm,
Especially knowing like having watched Game of Thrones, knowing giants and dragons and all this stuff are real. And like they talk about an ice wall in the Game of Thrones. It makes you think like how much real, truth is actually in that
and
show.
having just left their hall with all the crests of the knights of
Oh,
of the
yeah.
Knights Templar of the 13 original families. Like, yeah, there was some creepy vibes that whole day there. Like, I still have a lot of question marks about my experience there, to be honest. Because, like, if you remember, that was the day before Christmas Eve too,
Yep.
and the next day they were inducting the brand new grandmaster for that lodge, like, which is the largest and the first in the country. Like, it's like the most powerful lodge in North America, and they were inducting their new grandmaster the next day, which I found very, very interesting. Like, just the timing, because remember they had like all the preparation going on, and like there were
Yeah.
even signs like that he never answered my question like for about the camera, like their video cameras in use, or a camera crew or something like that, and you, like right, wasn't it? And I kept I asked him twice, and he never gave me a straight answer on that.
No, he never gave a straight answer, and then he was trying to get you to kneel in that one room
In the
to
initiate
take the
room,
picture. Yeah, dude. And he's like,
yes.
kneel right here. And you and I were both thinking the same thing, like, no way
Mm.
I'm kneeling in this.
Yep. Nope. As soon as he said it the first time, I was like, "Oh, fucking kneeling here, dude. Are you kidding me? Like, that was such a creepy room altogether." This is
Yeah.
the initiation room for everybody. So like, this is where they bring all the new initiates, and they sit them down in this little round circular room, surrounded by bloody skulls and weird symbolism, and they're supposed to basically they walk in one door, and then after a certain amount of time of self-reflection or whatever and thinking, this is then they walk out the other door. They walk in a non-Mason and they walk out a Freemason. That's like that's what happens in that room. And the guy was like, he kept saying to me like, "Oh, to get the best shot, you're gonna want to kneel down in the entranceway here." Like, he wasn't just telling me to kneel down. He was like giving me a specific spot to like
Yeah.
kneel. He was like right here in the doorway, right in the middle of the doorway. That's where you get the best shot with the lighting. It's like, yeah, I think I'll squat, dude. But yeah, thanks, appreciate it.
That was a very interesting, bizarre experience all the way around.
Mm-hmm.
I
It
still,
also it opened my eyes to like who like just the levels of these places too, right? Like the people that we interacted with literally have zero clue of what's actually happening
Mhm.
at that place. You know what I'm saying? Like they like we know a lot more about the inner workings than they probably do because we've looked into it.
Yeah, and when you're not programmed from the inside out,
Mm-hmm.
and when you're inside of it and programmed that way, of course you're not going to think outside of it, you know. It, and we met, I mean, we met, everybody was nice to us. I can't say that anybody was mean to us, nothing like
No,
that.
I felt bad for like Steve, dude, like our tour guide Steve. Like I thought he was a good dude. Like I could see, he would have been a good guy to like have a couple drinks with at the bar or something. Like, you know what I mean? That's kind of what he seemed like, and that's what he seemed like he was looking for
Mhm.
when he was initiated too. And that's when, like, in the back of my mind, I was like, oh, that kind of sucks, man. Like, he was just somebody like probably just looking for companionship, or like, probably if he joined a softball team, might have been able to avoid getting involved. I mean, who knows? But
No, that in a lot of them, it seems like that's what they're looking for. They're looking for a club to join for community or something,
mhm.
and they don't know what they're getting wrapped up in. And again, I have no idea from the inside speaking how it is, but just from everything seeing from the outside and relating that to the same hierarchical structure in the military or in policing, and like I've explained it that way, like when you're in the military, you don't know what your commander knows.
Yeah, yep,
You're only told what they tell you. And same thing when I was in policing, when I was a patrol officer, I wasn't privy to certain information, but when I became a sergeant, when I became a detective, like I knew all the secret things that were going on, and a lot of stuff wasn't to be released to the other officers because there's different operations going on. Well, it's no different than in these clubs. That's why you
hmm
have point man. That's why it's a pyramid and there's steps, and but it's the same kind of way is that they have gatekeepers that, know a certain amount of information, then you don't learn about that until you get to a certain, degree or rank or, promotion or whatever it is.
and then even then, there's another higher rank, and
Mhm.
there's another special invite only order, like the order of the jesters, or what's the other one? The order of the Phoenix. There's two that I came across that were like invite only. Like, you can't just become one. You have to be invited, and you have to be a 33 degree master to get the invite. Um, but yeah, man. I mean, even despite and I've never been a part of it either, nor has anyone in my family that I know of. So I don't really know a lot about it, like the inner workings, like other than from the research I've done, right? And it's like, even maybe they do, maybe a lot of their practices are good. Like maybe they do have good intentions behind some of the things, like the charity and blah 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 that they do, right? But even with all of that, like in my mind, I go back to the story that you started off with. And if the president of the United States is kneeling before a guy that's a his gardener, right, because of his rank, what does that say about his loyalty to the country that he's supposedly in charge of, right? Like, it says that he clearly prioritizes one over the other. Same issue with dual citizenship, right? Like we're dealing with this now with all of our Congress people that have dual citizenship,
Yeah, bro.
right? Right? It's like, how can you say which one you're loyal to, right? Like, it's like, how can you be representing one but connected to the two? And we know that they're very involved on both sides, right? Like, it's not like they're just gonna, it's not like they just give you a citizenship card and like let you go and give you a slap on the butt and say good luck. That's not what happens.
Yeah, there's deep involvement across the
Hmm.
board for them. And that's really what we need to expunge, you know? And I think that if people are in these organizations, they should have to disclose it, especially if they're going to be in public service.
Agreed. I don't even know. Like, I have a hard time like really rationalizing why, like, to allow them to begin with,
Mhm.
right? It's
Well,
like, it's not
yeah,
it's not a religion, right? It's a fraternal organization, and that's done on, specifically for a reason, like, to differentiate the two, right? And the only reason that it's not a religion, the only defining factor that it's not a religion, is because they don't have a specific God or text that is talking about a specific God that you need to worship, basically, is
you
what
just have
that,
to believe in a God,
in a higher power,
a
just
higher
like
power.
just like AA, just like NA, you know, all they're all the same. It's the same stuff,
Yeah.
you know.
When you're talking about the secrets and stuff, I immediately thought of the New York State Capitol and the Senate chambers and that video that I did with the big, huge fireplace that they have in there.
The
And
whisper room, right? You were talking
dude,
about?
and that's where they
Yeah.
go in to have secret conversations. And they even,
Hmm.
the tour guide said that. I'm like, wait a second. Why is the Senate going into the fireplace inside the mantle? Because nobody else can hear them. Why are they having secret conversations? Like, shouldn't it be out in the open what they're discussing?
Yeah.
Didn't they design this room so the acoustics, everybody could hear what's going on? Why are they telling secrets, you know?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, man. No, the secrets, that's, I was joking with you one day, I think, like, saying the new political party should be the no secrets society. Like, call it the no secrets society, because, like, literally the secret societies are the ones that run the show,
100%.
like,
100%.
and that's why else would they be secret, dude? You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. Like, why would they be keeping secrets if they weren't trying to pull one over on somebody in some way, shape, or form? Like, why would they be doing that?
Yeah. There's certainly a lot of interesting things unfolding, isn't there?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, to say the least.
Yeah, I don't even know what to think about it anymore, bro.
I don't know either, man. All I know is I'm sick of paying 4.50 a gallon. I'll tell you that much. Like,
Yeah, dude. And
it's
the
just hurting.
and they're all and that's the whole thing too. And that we could get ranting about that for an hour, but how they create the fuel prices. And oil is not a petrol, it's not a fossil fuel. It's not made of fossils.
Yep.
And it's
It's like the
not
Fed, like the Fed does with currency. It's the same deal. You know what I
the
mean?
same
Like,
thing. They set the market,
yep.
and none of it makes sense. And so all this is fabricated just to keep the squeeze on people, to keep everybody distracted, because people have got to work to go and put gas in their cars, to be able to make it to work, to pay their bills, because they
Hmm.
got to pay for childcare because they split the family up. And there's a million things that go into all this.
Yeah,
But it's
man.
all to keep us distracted
Yeah, yeah, to keep us in poor and in the poorhouse.
and in the poorhouse. Well,
Yeah.
listen, brother, we've been going for, believe it or not, dude, like an hour and 45 minutes already.
Wow.
Yeah.
Time flies, man, when you're having
Dude,
fun.
time flies, especially when we're having combos,
Mhm.
Rob.
Tempus fugit is the Latin for that one, by the way.
Tempus fugit
Yeah, that's what time flies. Mhm.
as the time flies.
Mhm.
So I know that again, I know there's a little bit of a delay. Now, before we leave the live stream here, does anybody have any questions for Batman, We still have 9 people watching. For everybody that's listening, I will upload this full Zoom onto YouTube and I will cut up clips like I did with the last one. We're working on this. Uh, Batman will definitely be on again. We'll be having more
I hope so, man.
conversations. We're gonna
Yeah.
have when I get better at this whole thing in my little studio here, I'm gonna set it up so we can have face-to-face conversations and record it that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely,
I think
dude.
that'd be really cool. Doing it through Zoom is pretty cool this way, but I want to have face-to-face conversations, real conversations. And
No,
even
I'm
if it's,
I'm doing the same thing here, man. I'm gonna get this place decked out with a little studio. I got the drum set in there right now. Got it hooked up. I haven't. I'm still learning. You know.
yeah, buddy, no. And next time I come to Massachusetts, we're gonna have a bonfire, right?
Oh fuck yeah, dude. I'll get the pit going. Absolutely.
Don't worry, be happy. Ask, they have one question. Can you play guitar before finishing? Um, well, Rob was just talking about how he plays the
I don't. No,
drums.
I do not play. I just got him, Lance.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, well, I remember when you sent me the
Yeah.
picture.
Yeah.
So
No, I
Rob's
definitely don't
learning
play.
to play the drums. I play guitar. Batman, can you give everybody your socials, your social media stuff again?
Yeah, sure. So on TikTok, it's Batman 25, Batman Rob 25. Um, on Facebook and YouTube, I'm Batman with three N's 25.
There you go. You got that, everybody. Batman, 3 N's, 25.
You got it. Well, no, it's actually four N's. I see.
Four N's,
Even I
four
screw
N's.
it up. Yeah, even I because I
One.
changed. That's my backup now on TikTok is a three.
Well, I'll tag you as a collaborator here on YouTube when I post the full podcast. And then when I cut up clips, I'll be sure to add you as a collaborator on the other platform. So everybody
Appreciate it, man.
listening can go and check out Batman and his content. He makes awesome content.
Thanks,
I
buddy.
have my full live stream from Boston with Batman. That's on the YouTube channel. If you guys didn't check that out, go check that out. We had a great time.
Yeah, man.
The first time Batman, Rob, and I ever met up, we went to the Taunton State Hospital in Massachusetts, and we were
Hmm.
live together for a couple hours, and then TikTok took it down, man. It was absolutely wild, but that was a pretty cool
Huh.
experience. And then we went live where all those Ameses were. What was
Oh, Easton, Mass.
Easton, Massachusetts? We went
Hmm.
live there. Trying to think, did we
It's
go
like
live?
the Henry Hobson, like capital of the country over there in Easton. Yeah.
And that place, y'all, is absolutely
Hmm.
wild. And again, it's the same kind of structures. And that one thing, that thing looked like it was from the Dark Ages, that big arch that you walk under, like the bridge stone tunnel,
Oh,
you know,
the Rockery by
the rockery, dude.
that was by Olmsted. That was Frederick Olmsted did that one.
That thing looks like it's literally 1,000 years old.
It yeah, it looks like it's like a Mayan temple, like at the top of a Mayan temple or something. Yeah, it's the craziest thing. Yep.
Well, listen, everybody's thanking us in the comments section. They said,
Thank you guys. I appreciate you, all of you.
yeah, we appreciate y'all for listening. Thank you so very much. Yeah, we'll definitely more content with Rob and I for sure. And yeah, I'll play guitar some more as well. Don't worry, be happy. I appreciate you listening to my music and my poetry and all that. Again, Rob and I will get together sometime soon. Rob, thank you for being the second guest on the Spoken Truth podcast, bro.
Yo, thank you for having me, brother. And you did an awesome job with the ride, man. That's one of my favorite tunes. I love
You
that
like
song.
that one?
Yeah, you did a good one with that. Yeah, it's
I
good.
appreciate that, bro. I'd love to get some gigs down around that way, you know. I know
Dude,
it's tough out there.
I know a few people in the industry down here, like guys I've done work for that could get you some gigs for sure.
Well, the place I was at today, they actually talked like they're looking, it's a farm, and they're talking about how they want to do more events and stuff. And I know that like you want to try your hand at stand-up comedy a little
Mm.
bit, you
I thought,
know.
I've been debating it. Yeah, a little
That's what
bit.
I'm saying. Big
Hmm.
T does comedy.
Hmm.
You know, I know that there's a few other people that play music and stuff. You know, maybe we get a little, I don't know, I don't want to call it like a truther festival, but like an
Dude, I'd be down.
awareness festival, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? For a couple
yeah,
days to get together and talk and all hang out. I think that'd be pretty cool.
that'd be awesome, man. I'm down.
Right
Absolutely.
on.
Sign me up.
So listen, y'all, thank you very much. Again, thank you, Batman, for being on the podcast, bro. I'm
Appreciate you,
gonna
Kyle. Kyle, nice to meet you, brother.
Yeah, you too, buddy.
Nice
Kyle's
to meet you,
awesome.
man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you'll meet Kyle. Kyle's
yeah.
cool. And Kyle's got a very inspiring story, and I can't wait for everybody to hear it. So, he's a great dude. Him and I were in the sauna today, going from the sauna into the spring pond. And we did that, what, probably 4 times? A little cold in the spring pond, but
Yeah.
sauna was sweet, sweating out, all the toxins out of our body. But thank you all. There's still 9 people watching on YouTube. Thanks again for supporting us. Go check out my homie Batman. And yeah, I'm gonna end the live stream now.